Don't go. Not this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Stacked. This is a little new thing that we're doing. We're going to be calling these cozy reviews. We're here. We're all here on our couch. We are very cozy. We got a lot of blankets going. We have our ETs here with us.
That's right.
Keeping us company.
Popcorn.
And we got our popcorn bucket. Eat Ant-Man, courtesy of
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Ooh, this is a good corn. Look at this one.
It's really good. Right now we are enjoying today's kernel of the
best
day.
Dorito.
This is a double review. This could be a review for popcorn as well.
This is a cinnamon roll popcorn that we got at the Sam's Club in Flagstaff, Arizona.
It's come a long way.
Cheers.
So it really has.
Yeah,
Domestically
cheers.
imported.
I want to find a good kernel.
There we go.
Cheers.
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 Cheers. That was
Oh
a
my
good
God.
kernel. Really good.
Oh my god.
But so here
So that review's done.
so
Yeah.
that review's done.
It's good.
And that gets a
If you only came here for that, you can leave now.
that gets a it's very yummy.
Yeah, pretty yummy.
For me, I'm gonna fix my shirt so my tummy isn't peeking out.
And we just lost like 20 viewers because of that. Whatever.
We got demonetized.
For the tummy lovers.
Today, so this past week, obviously these past few weekends, Sundance has been taking place,
That's right.
and one of the big films out of the festival was by a filmmaker named Sean Wong, who is, I believe, in his late 20s, and he put out his first feature film called Dee Dee.
Dee.
And we were so lucky enough to watch it because Tori was super on top of it and scored an online screener link to the film. So we thought we'd go ahead and just share our thoughts today. So first things first, Tori, this film you were very excited for because you have a bit of a personal connection to it. So why don't you go into where this movie takes place first and foremost?
Well, yeah, this takes place in Fremont, California, my hometown. And I found out about this movie because I was on set with post-production producer Claire Loudis.
Shout outs.
And we were just talking. We went to school together. I forget what set we were on. We were just talking about, like, oh, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, I'm from Fremont. She said, oh, so you know Sean, right? And I did not know Sean. But she told me, like, yeah, he'd been shooting this feature over the summer. I'm working on it. And he shot it in Fremont. And I was instantly, and I still am, so jealous to, like, get to shoot a feature film and with the, like, real crew in, like, Fremont, California would be so cool. So that was my main initial draw to the movie. But I think as we all watched it, it turned out to be so much more. And I think most of the reviews, it's not really like, oh, Fremont, that was a cool setting. It's really about, like, the content of the film itself. And I do want to say I think it was, like, a phenomenal capturing of what Fremont is like. I think I grew up surrounded by, like, just the most diverse group of people. And I went to film school in Orange County, California. And I had, like, the most reverse culture shock experience of my life.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I think watching this movie made me realize, like, over the past couple years, I've lost this image of what movies could look like as far as casting goes. I think I had very short images in my head when I got to school of what like my friends would look like, what these characters in my films would look like, even what my boyfriend would look like. I did not think I'd ever date a white guy growing up in Fremont.
Hey. White boy.
Here we are. But, like, it was a strange catharsis watching this movie and being like, oh my gosh, like, I used to be surrounded by, like, so many, like, different cultures, and I don't really get that anymore. And it inspired me going forward to really, I mean, I've always valued diverse casting, but I think this movie kind of, like, reinvigorated that passion for myself.
Absolutely.
I just rambled a lot. What do you guys think?
No, that's okay.
You rambled. You reviewed. You didn't ramble, you
It
reviewed.
it was. I did realize, though, that we should probably give the audience an idea of what this movie's about because there's no trailer. There's really no public information about it. So, Ethan, why don't you give us, like, a quick, like, 30-second-ish synopsis of what Dee Dee is?
Yeah. Dee Dee is about an Asian American boy. Was he 14?
I think
13.
13.
What is he in?
14
What grade is he in? He's a
14.
freshman in high school, right?
It's
and
the summer
it's the
before
summer
freshman year.
Before freshman
Yeah,
year, that's
of
right.
high school.
And it's literally just a movie about this kid's summer before going into high school, and sort of all the coming of age beats that come with that, of, having a crush, finding new friends,
Yeah.
and grappling with identity,
Mhm.
because I feel like the leap from middle school to high school is a big leap.
It's a huge
I don't know, it was it big for
difference.
you? It was huge for me.
It's huge.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And it takes place in 2008, so
That's really important.
it's really important because that is very much of that time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, grappling with his identity. Is he
He's
Taiwanese.
Taiwanese? Yeah, Taiwanese.
Also, so many Taiwanese friends from Fremont.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's our biggest population was Taiwanese people.
So there's a lot of there's a generational narrative between that because he has the relationship with his mom and the relationship with his grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I adored this film. I went in with no expectations besides knowing that, our friend Claire Loudis worked on it. That's all I knew. That's literally all I knew.
Mhm.
And I was blown away. I have never seen a movie like hit so close to home for me.
Yeah.
He got the time period so right. He nailed it. He got how boys in this age grapple with their insecurities, especially during this time of the internet. I feel like that added a whole new layer of like having to cover up,
Yeah.
and having to put on a face. And I feel like the actor, what's the main actor's name?
Like the character or the actor?
Well, do you remember either?
The lead is named incorrectly pronounced that we learned. It's Wang Wang. That's
Wang
like his
Wang.
nickname that also his friends call him, but his
Right.
real name is Chris.
Chris.
And
Chris Wang.
and that's another important detail in this movie is that he kind of has multiple nicknames. So Dee Dee, the title of the film, that's what his family calls him. That's how his mom and his grandma refer to him.
Right.
Which means little brother.
Little brother. His friends, so the kids his age, call him Wang Wang,
Yeah.
which is, a little bit of a derogatory nickname. But,
Mhm.
Knowing kids that age, that's typically how they refer to one another. But as he starts to come of his own, he starts to introduce himself by his first name, which is Chris. So he has different people in different areas of his life know him by different names, which I think plays into the whole idea of him finding his identity.
Yeah.
Which I'll add in is likely, I mean, I don't know if we even know what his quote unquote real name is because I'm sure Chris is an American name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I remember having lots of friends growing up where I only knew them by their American name, and then suddenly I hear them talk to their mom, and I'm like, what? Why are they calling you that? And it's like, oh, well, that's my actual name. But they are so socially Americanized that everyone at school knows them by their American name.
Yeah.
Right. Like, doesn't Chris have a different name? Or our own
Mhm.
Chris,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that. We should have him on. Where
we,
is he?
We hope that he.
Yeah. We
that-
really hope he watches this film because
I think he
will.
will. I think
Yeah.
he's looking forward to it. But yeah, I mean, a huge part of this movie, like you were saying, is that setting. And I have
Mhm.
to say, like, for anyone born between the years like maybe 95 or 2000, those people that aren't quite millennials but are also like don't quite feel at home with Gen Z, that kind of in between. That's where we fall. We're all 1999 babies.
Yeah.
This movie is kind of tailor-made for that small little sub generation of
Absolutely.
people. And like you said, they do get the time period right, like the experience of early online chat rooms, YouTube in 2008, and exploring that whole space, and Facebook, MySpace, those the early years of social media, and how that affects someone at that age who's still trying to find out who they are and how they fit in with other people.
Yeah.
And I think the setting of Fremont being such a diverse place, it must be difficult for some people because it's so diverse that nobody is quite on the same page. It's this huge melting pot of different people coming from different areas, and it's just trying to find your place in all of it. It's really beautiful, but it's also chaotic and frankly stressful for these characters, and I thought that was depicted very beautifully.
And it causes like such a specific type of loneliness
Yeah.
that I feel like we haven't seen too much in films these days. Like I mentioned earlier on the podcast, when I was talking about, I saw the TV Glow, one of my most anticipated films of the
Right.
year, but the movie that director made before, We're All Going to the World's Fair, I feel like captures a similar type of, I'm going to coin it as internet loneliness, like internet age loneliness.
It's a real thing.
It is such a real thing because even though you have the whole world in front of you, basically, you still feel super lonely, locked in your room, don't know how, there's a whole new, there's a whole new self you have to, like, create.
There is, yeah.
You know? And just having, because if you think of, like, kids really were, like, they were the guinea pigs for all this stuff.
We were.
We were.
We
Yeah,
were.
we
Literally,
absolutely were.
we were. We were
Yeah.
the first generation to come of age with that. And it's so confusing because everything on social media is fabricated.
Yeah.
And there's scenes of this, of our lead, where he's going on these social media platforms and looking at all of his friends. And MySpace had the, like, top 10 friends list.
Yeah.
I was never on MySpace, but I know that
Me
was a
neither.
feature.
Yeah.
And, like, he sees that he doesn't make a list somewhere and how that affects his
His best friend, he's finally out of his top 8.
exactly.
Which was like, oh.
And it's stressful, and it's just watching this kid come of age, trying to find his place. And just another aspect is he's an aspiring filmmaker, which it's semi-autobiographical. Sean stated that it's not totally to fact how his upbringing was, but it's based on a lot. And he starts filming these skate videos. And I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but let's say his first go at it isn't exactly successful.
Yeah.
And I thought that was it was a cringeworthy scene, but it was also such a human and real moment because we never see that in these coming of age films. We never see the
never.
lead struggle to explore their passion. They're usually just these gifted geniuses. And this character, we see him kind of fall on his face and he screws up. And that was really touching to me because as a kid who went through that and made those mistakes too,
Yeah.
it's relieving to know that, hey, I'm not alone in this. And that's how this movie really makes you feel, is that, like, no matter what, like, all those experiences, all that awkwardness, like, you're not alone.
No.
People have gone through it.
Yeah, I think it shows a lot of chops and ability to be humble and realistic about your life on Sean Wong's behalf as, like, a filmmaker. Because, yeah, I liked your call out of Sammy Fableman.
Yes.
In your
We're
Letterboxd
looking at
review.
you, Sammy. Still love you,
Sammy.
but
And there's many Sammy Fablemans in film where they're just
all over the
these
place.
lone genius. I hate lone genius stories.
Yeah.
They drive me crazy. So I was very happy to see that. And along those same lines with that scene with the kind of first failure as a filmmaker, I think what was also interesting, also going back to, like, the YouTube channel, I think there's an interesting commentary on, like, our own film and artistic archiving that we do or fail to do growing up.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a spoiler, but we see him delete a lot of his, like, early first films that he's made.
Yeah.
And I know I've deleted a lot of mine growing up,
And they're just
Mhm.
gone.
and they're gone forever.
Forever.
And now I'm in my mid-20s. I'm longing for nostalgia. I'm longing for that root of, like, why I started doing this career, and I have no proof
Yeah.
of the beginnings.
I also went through that. A lot of my first goes at filmmaking when I was just, like, a kid with my friends, very similar to the main character in this film, just, like, I don't know, dicking around on camera. And yeah, a lot of those videos, because there was no, like, unlisted or private feature on YouTube back then. It was
No,
like
just
either it's up or it's deleted and gone forever.
Yeah.
And at that age, I didn't know how to back up my videos and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of these memories are lost to time, and it's a regret we have now. And I think that was captured beautifully. And just going back to, like, the whole lone genius thing, this character as a whole is just, he's very flawed. I think it captures the teen angst very well. Like, he lashes out at his family. He feels angry and dejected all the time, and he makes mistakes. He says the wrong things to people. And I found that really relatable too, because I remember at that age, hell, even to this day, like, being in those situations where you're unsure of yourself socially and you end up just, I don't know, just saying the wrong things, or things come across the wrong way, and there's a disconnect with people. And I think that's very much brought about because of the social media era.
Yeah.
And I think this movie did a really good job capturing that.
Speaking of sort of like, lashing out with the family and everything like that, great little brother, older sister movie.
Oh, and I bet
man.
that's you two both, because you guys have that sister relationship. That's not something that I have personally, so I'd love to hear your
You're the
thoughts.
older sister.
I am
And
the
I'm
older
the
sister.
little brother.
Yeah.
So seeing those scenes when the two would they'd clash, I never, spoilers, I never peed in her shampoo bottle, but we'd fight, we'd lash, but then, when things got, when things got serious, like, we'd always be there for each other.
Yeah.
And that's something that I just feel like Sean Wong doesn't really it's not a huge part of the film, and he doesn't really make it, make it like a melodramatic element where it's just the fact of his older sister, when his mother and grandmother are fighting, she drives him to his friends.
Yeah, to help, because he's about to go film them,
Yeah.
his first film project.
And just the way they talk to each other in that scene, it was making me tear up.
Oh, that's like the best when you're watching a movie and you see the moments from your own life happen, and that's when a movie you connect with it on a deeper level, and that's the beauty of it. And I think there's a lot of moments like that in this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So any other thoughts, you guys? Tori?
I thought the relationship between Chris and the girl, the love interest,
His crush.
his crush, I thought was very interestingly done, and it kind of found new meaning when we were listening to the Q&A afterward. Sean was kind of talking about he wanted to reflect on maybe things that we thought were okay back in 2008.
Yeah.
I forget the word he used, but he looks back on it without judgment. He just kind of let's look back on what we thought was okay then, now we realize now is not so okay.
Yeah.
Specifically a line she said, "You're cute for an Asian," things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And then there's also a scene which I would say borders on an assault to Chris.
Mm.
But I do it's interesting to look at it non-judgmentally as possible. I mean, obviously what's wrong is wrong, but to kind of look back on our own lives and things that we might have done that were not so okay, and to be all right, we were kids, look how much we've learned now.
Yeah.
I think it was a great lens to look at it back on in order to give us those lessons from the movie.
I completely.
Did that make any sense?
That
No,
made
yeah, it was
perfect sense.
I was very speaking in draft, all of that.
The way Sean Wong depicts that stuff, it's very tasteful and very empathetic to his younger self.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
And to just kids today, I feel like it left a good message that you are gonna make mistakes,
Sometimes big ones.
shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Shit's gonna happen to you, and you're gonna do shit.
Yeah.
That's gonna stick with you for the rest of your life. And the way he approaches his own experiences, with this film, he, in the Q&A, he was like, I want this piece to be both a thank you and an apology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt the thank you and the apology through all these situations, that he was thankful that he had these situations, but he's also, he's trying to point out what was wrong, but
Right.
not in a way of this is wrong right here. Okay,
Yeah.
we need to not do this, because sometimes messages like that, they don't.
It's
in
not
terms of the tone of the film, they don't really fit.
and it's just not real. It's not
not real,
realistic, and it's not human. And I wrote this in my Letterboxd review, and it's one of the more human films, especially coming of age films I've seen.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, it's just the movie, you walk away from it no matter what with the feeling of the mistakes you've made in the past. That's something you can recontextualize and learn from and move on from.
Yeah.
And it's important to do that. It's important to look on your past and learn from those moments, those memories.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is a beautiful film that really captures it. It's a great coming of age film. It's a great film about cultural identity. It's a great film about finding your place. I really can't imagine how anyone couldn't find a way to relate to it. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say my last piece is like, I want to throw out some comps to this movie. You know, if you still don't really have I mean, we went pretty in depth about this film, but like, if you still want like a better idea of like what this movie's kind of like, I would recommend like the documentary Minding the Gap.
Oh,
It's a film
interesting.
about, it follows like 3 skateboarders through their life,
Mhm.
similar
Mm.
situations. Even though it's a documentary, it still feels like, that vibe. I would say, kind of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Just in terms of
Yeah.
like,
That's another film that also deals with
sort of the point of view, I guess.
yeah, and just during that time in your life you're gonna make a lot of mistakes
Yeah.
and you're not gonna understand everything, and that's okay, because guess what, even when you're an adult you still
Yeah.
don't really, because like the mom character, we didn't really touch on her much,
Oh,
but
amazing.
she has
She's
this passion for
fantastic.
art as well,
Yeah.
and she's struggling with that, especially being so far from home. Her husband isn't around,
Yeah.
and her trying to explore this passion of her while also being a mother in this situation and constantly falling under the weight and the pressures of her own mother who
Mhm.
still live with them, the grandmother.
Yeah.
And she's just stuck in this incredibly, I can't even fathom how difficult position that is. And it's like one of those films that shows us like even her, like after all this life experience, like still don't have it figured out. We're
Yeah.
just trying to get through it together.
Yeah.
And the connection between her and her son is oftentimes very confrontational. It's definitely not always the prettiest, but it comes out with like a nice level of understanding between the both of them in the end. And I won't get into how that happens because you should go see the film and you should watch it.
And then 2 more comps. 8th Grade,
8th grade,
Boba,
of course,
obviously.
another social media
Same
era
age group,
film.
and I feel like, anxiety and loneliness
Yeah.
in that age group. And then they pay homage to it in the film, Superbad.
Super bad,
I
yes.
feel like I got a
Yeah.
shot there. Because this movie's also pretty funny.
It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
funny.
Like,
A lot of
oh,
funny.
man.
You're gonna be laughing. Yeah.
These kids are crude, they're immature, but like in a very real and tasteful way.
Yeah. Kids
And
are funny. Like
kids
kids
are
are funny, especially
say
that
dumb
age.
shit,
They say really dumb shit, and it allows you to laugh at it. It's also a lot of Lady Bird in there because
Yeah.
Lady Bird's another coming of age story that's very much based in Greta Gerwig's hometown of Sacramento. And
Mm.
Sean, I think, depicts Fremont with the same level of sentimentality as well.
Oh yeah. Ugh. The like extreme wide shots are just the hills of Fremont in the background.
I couldn't imagine. And then and we got a cameo from her high school. Like
My
her
high
own
school's
high
in
school
it.
shows
They
up.
skate in her high school.
Incredible.
Which is crazy.
Many percussion practices where that skate scene took place.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, I think this was a really nice discussion. A really nice
Yeah.
Little
cozy
discussion.
Cozy discussion.
Yeah.
Should we give a rating?
A rating.
How many Blu-ray stacks out of 5 would you give it?
How
How
many
many stack? How high would you stack up this movie?
I'd stack it pretty high.
I'd say I'd give it 4.5 stacks out of 5 stacks.
4.5.
Yeah.
It was a 5-stack experience for me.
We're doing
5.
this. We're doing this.
5 for
I'm gonna give it an honest, respectable 4 stacks. No disrespect at all. I think if there's any if there's any like detractors, it's just some familiar coming of age beats. You kind of get the idea of how this movie's gonna play out, but that doesn't mean it's not like as insightful or enjoyable. That doesn't take that away from it. But
Some pretty good scores all around though.
of course, yes,
So.
no, definitely go check it out. I think it's still finding its distribution home. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and thank you for listening if you are listening. And if you want to just keep up to date with any of our movie opinions, what we're watching, well, our letterboxes appear on our name tags at the beginning of every episode, and they're always linked down below in the description.
Exactly.
So give us a follow, and you can watch along with us. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.